Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and we are here live for Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology forecast for the week of September 3rd through the 9th of 2019. On highvibe.tv. If you have not checked out highvibe.tv yet, make sure that you check it out. This is what we do all this content for, which is bringing a high vibe through these times, of course. And of course, it's an awesome network. We have an app on Apple. That's on iOS. You can also get it on iPad. You can get it on Android. You can get it on Apple TV. And Roku just went live. So you can watch free content like this and all the awesome subscription content, which is awesome. My daily horoscopes, my daily tarot, and of course my weekly sun sign horoscopes, my weekly intuitive, my weekly tarot. There's so much, and there's so many more awesome people on there. Check it out, highvibe.tv to get it. And of course, get my Passion the Venus video. I'm sure you've been feeling a lot of crazy energy with relationships, self-worth, money stuff. It's insane right now. I've been trying to push this video to people to really help understand it. I know it's been a crazy time. Check it out. It's only $10 on highvibe.tv. Now, if you've never watched the show before, this is where I channel live the astrology, and then, of course, we're going to go deep into the charts, which are brought to you by AstroGold, which you can get on iOS or Android and on any of your MacBooks. And if you're on PC, you can get it on SolarFire. So check that out as well. Now, this week we have a lot going on. It's been like so much condensed energy if you look at where the sun's at in Virgo. We're in Virgo season, lots of energy about mutability, but earth mutability. Lots of changes in our reality and a lot of exploring, right? Because of course the sun is in this energy of Virgo where it's trying to figure everything out, analytically put things together. And we've got Jupiter in Sagittarius. So everything's starting to square Jupiter, searching for the right reality. And then we got Neptune in opposition. Oh my gosh, it's like, are we delusional? Is this real? Is this not real? It becomes really crazy. And it can almost create some sort of like panic state or some sort of freak out or some sort of psychological breakdowns. But if you're grounded with all this Saturn energy, and especially with the South Node in Capricorn, you'll be better. It's about, finding grounding, which I think is super important. Because when we have grounding, we're not going to let this energy get us too crazy. And this is the positive part of this Saturn in South Node, is teaching us grounding and letting go of where we don't know how to ground well and get caught up in this crazy mess of weird stuff. Now we have Mars in the Sun, which has just met just the other day. And remember, this is a long transit that just starts, a couple years when the Sun and Mars meet. And so I think that it's very important for us to know that this is about clarity of identification of who you are, the reality you are, the changes that you need to make, the adjustments in your life. And this is a flexible time. And it's a flexible time with a lot of potent energy. We also have Mercury, which has conjuncted Mars as we're speaking right now, which is very intense because this is on top with Mars. So Mercury, Mars, and Sun all together. Bam! Talk about stress case, or at the same time, figuring things out at lightning fast speeds. Remember, Virgo is Mercury ruled, so Mercury is in its home sign and it is at full speed ahead. So we are rapid firing life right now, and it is really extreme. It's made big trines to Uranus. It's had all this, weird energy. That's what the Uranus is. It's taking us to worlds that we never dreamed or even thought were possible, that our brain couldn't have even comprehended. Like almost like taking us into alien worlds too, like alien meaning foreign. Like you've never really been in this kind of situation before, or this environment, or this reality. And there's this Jupiter aspect that's saying, explore it, like go, instead of like denying yourself of so many things. There's a lot of like, no, I don't know if I should. And if we really take a look at this week, Venus starts this week off with this Sun, Mercury, and Mars together, which is very extreme about communication and figuring things out. It can be very aggressive, accidents. I mean, there was this horrible boat explosion that just happened. Look at the hurricane right now. There's been a lot of crazy stories with this Mercury-Mars and Mercury-Sun-Mars. I mean, even look at British Parliament today. Like, we have to act now. We have to do this. We're going to go against the Prime Minister. What is Prime Minister going to do next? Like, there's a lot going on right now in life. And even in your own life, it feels like everything is at attention. Like, bam, I got to go. Mars is the ruler of the military. So it's like everything in your life with Mercury, the page is there, the king is there, and you got the warrior there, and everybody's in a little roundabout right now at the table. Like, we need to figure out this now. now. Like, oh my gosh, like that could be a little bit stressful. But it's Venus that is square to Jupiter and opposite over to Neptune. So we've got a big T square to Jupiter, which is saying that we have to be willing to look at all options on the table of all these things that we're changing our reality and that we're trying to figure out. And with Neptune, it's like Neptune's in its home sign. Jupiter's in its home sign. But Neptune in Pisces, when it opposes Venus, it's kind of the, I guess you could say, a really kind of negative, I don't want to say it's negative, but Venus is like, hey, I am not in the sign I like to be in. I'd rather be over there with you, Neptune, and be in dreamland. But there's this reality aspect of things, and Venus is not happy in Virgo because it feels reality so much. It has to do, sometimes labor, work, like not as much as the dream that maybe we want it to be sometimes. Like as we're figuring things out, and with the square to Jupiter, we can almost feel like maybe there's not enough positive energy, or maybe there's not enough good energy, or maybe you don't believe that greatness could be had. Venus Jupiter is all about the greatness of creation of life, and then Venus Neptune is all about the ultimate dreams and the connection to beyond just the physical, but how the physical and the spiritual meet. And this is a time where at this war table, I guess you could say, where everything's going crazy and the commander's on this and the king's with the commander and the pages is like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because Mercury this week goes to where Venus is at the start of this week and comes into the big T square. This Venus T square is big just because relationships, money, projects right now are at a very weird space. Nobody knows exactly how to handle them because Venus square Jupiter is like, I don't know, there's so many options. And I don't know what reality I should do, what I should explore, how far do I take things? And then you got Neptune, which is like, am I crazy? Am I dreaming too much or am I dreaming too little? And so Venus is having a very hard time. And with Mars, Mercury, and the Sun, it creates tension between people's communication, people just start acting out on each other, things explode, things get intense, things get rapid fire. And during a time like this, having Saturn is a good thing in Capricorn right now because Venus did have the trine to Saturn, but Mercury will get a nice trine to Saturn and the Sun will get a nice trine to Saturn this week during all these major mutable aspects. But you got to remember that at the same time, this Jupiter is in the middle of that, not wanting to be grounded, not wanting to have some sort of stability, but wanting to kind of expand the party of craziness. Like, let's just take the wildness and let's just see where it goes. Like, I want to understand. I want to see. Or it's like the teacher wanting to teach you by like exposure therapy, like throwing you into what the hell is this? Like, yeah, you're going to learn. Like there's something about Jupiter that's always laughing even when it's got its dark side. Like the shadow of Jupiter is like Santa loving to throw coal down the fucking chimney. Like, ha, 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 ha. I know that might trip some people out, but you got to take this moment here and realize that you have the ability in your head. You have the ability, if you can find the ability of strength and courage and willpower, to be able to figure these situations out. But you got to be willing to open up, look at different options, not be defensive of criticism either. Because Jupiter is trying to teach us and Neptune is trying to teach us as well. What is the higher realm saying? Especially with Neptune and Pisces. But even Jupiter has this guru element, right? This priest element, this teacher element. There's a lot of teaching trying to come on to all this Virgo energy that can be sometimes cynical, but also extremely beautiful. It's the duality of it, right? Pure or toxic. Believe it or not, we're dealing with Pisces and Virgo. We're dealing with what is pure and what is toxic, and Jupiter's trying to teach us that in the T-square. And at the same time, trying to experience or learn or have a big observation about things, while Saturn's trying to say, like, I want a decision or I want to stay grounded, but Jupiter's like, hold on, like, are you going to choose that without seeing, like, are you sure this is the best for you? Because remember, Saturn is blind right now. The south node's on Saturn. Saturn is almost dead stopped. Like, it is not moving at all. Saturn comes direct on September 18th. So we have some really weird energy where it's almost feeling like everything is closing in. Because whenever Saturn stops, panic happens on its own, on every Saturn retrograde before it comes stationary direct. Always. Because no matter how fast the energy is right now, it feels like there's a freaking big wall right in front of you. Because Saturn's the only one that says, you can go. And so when all the traffic lights are on red, and they're more like at yellow turning red right now, like, and there's traffic in the middle of the intersection. So it's kind of like, do I go on the light or not? Like, you know, like, is there a cop around? Is Pluto around? Oh yeah, Pluto's around this week with Venus, Mercury. So this Pluto aspect's trying to reveal a lot of the deeper truths to where we're going, what reality does make sense for us, but also what needs to get chucked out and destroyed and rebirthed. Because Mercury and Venus are going to be trying to Pluto this week. So we do get this rebirthing energy in our minds, in our environments, and relationships and projects and money of a new way and a new structure and a new plan. But also karmic destiny coming out of nowhere. There's a lot of karma going around right now with all these aspects. And I think the hardest of this whole week is Mercury, because Mercury gets this Sun-Mars at the beginning of the week, and it's in its home sign. Remember, there's a lot of planets right now in dignity. And so with Mercury and its dignity, now it's going to come to the T-square and square over to Jupiter, which is in its home sign, direct, and make an opposition to Neptune, which is retrograde, and Mercury is coming into a crazy storm. Like, it's a storm of your mind, of your beliefs, your soul, and where in the hell am I going? Do I go through the light? Is this a light? It's like almost like depersonalization a little bit, like disconnecting from the body for a second, because Neptune is in opposition and you're like, what the hell's going on? Let me see this from my soul. And then Jupiter's there, overexpanding the crazy situations. That's all Jupiter does, is like expand, 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 expand. It's like it doesn't ever do anything that's retractive. Saturn is retractive. So it's really weird that Mercury trine Saturn, and they're both in their dignity. So it's like, okay, like, Mercury's like, all right, I'm making changes to my reality. That makes sense. But then it's like, wait, hold on. Jupiter, right after that, no, you're not. Look around more. What? And then opposite Neptune, are you? I'm lost. What's the angel saying? What's this happening? What? It just becomes like, I thought this was secured. I thought this was decided upon. Wait, no, now it's switching. There's a lot of switching on this week. Like, and especially when you have all that Sun, Mercury, Mars, it's like the war table, it's like immediate switching. Like if you ever look at the old war tables, you know, what did they have? Like, you know, it's like, we're going to flank them over here. And then, you know, you just start moving everything. And then the old ways, it would be like the page would show up with the message, be like, we just lost a bunch of people over at this battlefield. Move that there, you know, like, okay. You know, so your life right now is in a battlefield of figuring out which reality, what aligns with your soul, and what is the beautiful story that you want to be in, and where do you need to expand? Where do you need to experience? And with all this Pluto energy, where do you need to close? That's a lot just in itself, just with those aspects alone. And if you want to add to it, the moon starts in Scorpio, so it's got some awesome sextiles here on this Tuesday, but it's coming into Sagittarius to meet with Jupiter and make a square to the sun. So we're going to have this sun square Jupiter energy with the moon square. Woo! Now, this is going to bring up the middle of the T-square with Mercury squaring the moon as it comes out of its, you know, this first quarter waxing square. Remember that we just had a new moon. So this first quarter, it was intense on that new moon. This last week has been freaking intense. And just when you thought it was going to stop being intense, no. Now we get the quarter square that checks up on that new moon in Sag and tries to understand what the hell was that. And it becomes dramatic. Because now we got all this energy heading towards squares of Jupiter, and the moon's going to highlight it. And this is going to be emotional, like trying to, be as positive, but squares to Neptune, and it's getting ready to give us the teaser to the full moon that will be coming next week when we have it on top of Neptune square Jupiter. So this is like crazy times. And you got to remember that this is not a very, there's nothing set. Nothing is set. Nothing. It reminds me of like having a bunch of, some really nice table with all the nice, like I went to cotillion with my grandmother when I was young, and you have your salad fork, and you have this fork, and then you have the knife, and then you have the spoon, and then you have, the nice napkin, and how do you sit, and how do you use your spoon at, when you eat soup. Do you do it like this? Do you do it like this? No, you have to do the old English style where you push the back of it off and go, and which way do you pass the butter? And how do you do it? Like, it's like somebody's coming in there and be like, what the hell is this? And just throwing the whole table up and all the friggin' everything, and just watching the old queen be like, like, what I mean? It's just like, and Jupiter's laughing the whole time. Like, I just wanted to see the experience of everybody just get their shit just fucking thrown everywhere. Because in that moment, I know I just terrified the shit out of a bunch of people. Like, God, I can't imagine that. I don't want that. But it's more like, hey, how you react to that. What is the underlying emotion that you need to learn about that in your life, in the area that it does that in, specifically to you, in your reality? Where is the universe this week going to go, blap? Because we did have a new moon with Uranus trine, with a Mars trine Uranus, with a Mercury trine Uranus. We just had a lot of that stuff. And so with Mercury and Venus, and Mercury in a T-square with a moon square the sun, while Jupiter and the sun are going to start to square, Saturn is saying, I'm going to make sure it's going to all be okay, but Jupiter is like, I'm going to come in there and do what I want. It's like, it reminds me of CERN. You know what CERN is? It's where all these scientists came together and wanted to find the God particle. So they created this huge container and all this crazy energy so where they could just start throwing particles at each other, atoms and all this stuff, and creating explosions and seeing, can I find God in this particle? That's crazy. And that happened in 2012. And there's no coincidence that ever since 2012, you felt like you're on a different world. There is a theory out there that CERN, when they did that they took us to another dimension or an alternate universe, or, but not like, it's kind of like sliders. Like where you go into another reality and then you're like, what the fuck? Everything's the same, but that one thing's off. They're not McDonald's, they're McRonald's, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, I'm in the wrong reality. And so there's this containment of Saturn for the crazy particles in your life that are going to be smashed to see what's the outcome. It's a crazy experiment. Now, it's very Uranian, but even more so, it's more about trying to understand with Jupiter and with all this mutable energy, and with Neptune as well. There's that crazy aspect of like where this almost seems insanity. Because you got to remember that Virgo does deal with the actual literal mind, and more of this core functionality of, this is how the mind operates, this is how I operate, this is how I wake up, go to sleep, this is how I eat, this is it's like the biosystem in a computer, the thing that you don't even know, but your computer has a BIOS, and it tells it, oh, the computer's getting hot, throw the fan on more. Like it's in your body, right? I'm starting to sweat, like it's hot, so I'm going to start sweating. Or it's cold, right? I'm going to start putting out more heat, so I'm going to get goosebumps, right? Like these are operational systems in our brain that turn on when things happen. Well, when Neptune opposes it, it comes in and starts messing with all that stuff. So you might be feeling really weird, and you might be feeling really disconnected from reality this week, especially with Mercury. And we're not even over with this because the sun and Mars, that's what's coming into a big full moon with all these squares. And we're getting ready for Sun square Jupiter, where it can feel like bad luck is everywhere. There's just bad luck in my life. I just have bad luck. Bad luck. Bad luck. Especially Sun in Virgo, right? It's like everything in my life is not the way I envision it. And with Neptune there being this carrot cake, that's like, oh my gosh, but I see this reality and how I really want it to be. And you have to remember that this is about maintaining order in your brain, in your mind, in your soul, and not losing it, and realizing that there's solutions, that there are options, and Jupiter is having fun watching the fuckery and laughing. Santa Claus likes to laugh by putting coal down your chimney. There's some more to talk about, but let's take a look at the charts so we understand this a lot more. Yo. My hair's all messed up. See? When you're in this kind of energy, everything will go all over the place. And you just got to deal with it. We got some peeps in the chat too. Yo. So, let's look at some charts here. Man, by the way, it's September 3rd. Happy birthday, Lyle. That's my brother, Lyle, my younger brother. I love you, bro. Hope you had a great birthday. I'm going to send you a text when I get off this. I tried to call you, but you were on the plane. So, you can verify this through Mom. I love you. All right. September 3rd is a big day for me. It's my brother's birthday, and I will always remember that day. Your brother's always your closest person in your life, I love Lyle. So as we're talking and doing deep astrology, look at Mercury and the Sun just met up. So there's a lot that needs to be figured out. And for this to happen in Virgo is a big deal. Because one, when we're dealing with a Sun-Mercury-Virgo conjunction, we're dealing with a moment to where we are needing answers. The Sun, the king, needs his answers about what's going on in reality. And with Mars, the Sun just passed Mars this last day. So now Mars is in the back, and Mars does not like to be in the back. Mars was leading the race, now Mars is behind the race. As Venus, the goddess, is forward, now Mercury is going to catch up with Venus. And now the Sun, the king, just passed that. So it's almost like all this energy that connected with Mars. Remember, we had Sun, Mars just in the last day. We had Mercury, Mars just in the last day. And then we had Mars, Venus 2 weeks ago. So now we are at this point to where Mars is behind. And now Mars is kind of like, uh-oh, I'm not the leader, I'm the follower. And so I think that this can bring a quality where, one, we have to be okay with allowing things to be figured out and to kind of follow what the message is from the universe and to follow things instead of trying to put ourselves first and our ego first to figure everything out. This is now time for us to put it all behind and kind of follow the cookie crumb trails to where things are going. Also, this Venus aspect, so it's a pretty big one. Venus in its fall position in Virgo, and that's making that square to Jupiter, and that's making that opposition to Neptune, and that's coming exactly here, late into the night. Well, we're on the West Coast, but Wednesday morning, early for most people, into Wednesday afternoon. That's going to be pretty intense. Because Venus square Jupiter already is not the most fun. It's like, here's something great, but I need to understand it still, or maybe I don't believe, maybe it's too good, or maybe it's over-believing, or maybe it's like over-excess to try and feel good, and it might leave you hollow. There's a lot of things that come up with this. It's like, is it too much? Like, can I handle this? A lot of this is like, one, Neptune in Pisces. It is a time for us to like go, okay, my soul and my desires of my dreams and these ethereal realms, they're really intense. Like there's this godly connection. There's also this imaginary element. And it's almost like it's trying to teach all of us right now with a Jupiter square Venus and a Neptune oppose it because Venus is at fall and it's with two dignified planets that are in square, that we need to add more belief into our understanding of what feels good. We need to add more imagination. We need to add more trust in the universe. We need to add more faith and belief. Because when it comes to money, when it comes to projects, when it comes to relationships, if you don't have that faith or exploration or that imagination, and there's something about learning from your past issues with these things and revealing, Neptune, when it reveals things, especially in retrograde, it's looking at the past in retrograde very deeply. Pisces is the past, Neptune rules the past, so there's a lot of, but it retrograde in the past. It's reflecting on the past and going, am I going to go back into this past shit? Am I going to still hang on to the past? Maybe I should learn to start to look at the new imagination of the future and not base that new imagination of the future off the past and what's happened. Because we could start to bring up a lot of past events that have been traumatizing to us about relationships, about money issues, about projects, all that stuff. And with Jupiter there, if we don't believe or expand or create a new belief, especially with new imagination, because the fact that Jupiter and Neptune are squaring, then we're fucked here. You're fucked here. Because Venus is at fall in Virgo. You're done. Sorry, you'll just get that crazy, shitty belief that you fucking have. And you'll just get that, you won't get the imagination, you'll just get the past pattern to repeat itself, especially when there's this South Node Saturn that's still happening. And Saturn, look at this, 1404. It's going to come to 13 degrees when it comes direct on September 18th. So it's inches away from, getting out of this space. But what's today, the 3rd? And even through the 9th this week, we're weeks away. And this Saturn slowdown is hard because it's slow. And Saturn direct is when things create and move forward, projects move forward, things move forward in life. Saturn is the only one. No, that's why Mars and Saturn they're malefics. Mars retrogrades are horribly malefic. You don't feel like you can move forward. You lose your identity a little bit. You lose your confidence. With Saturn retrograde, you lose your ability to have the authority of your life, feeling of control, feeling of that you're able to understand the plan, or you're mad at the plan and you want the plan to go a different way and it's not going the way that you want to. And I think a lot of this is, it's on purpose. I think that the universe, of course, being an astrologer and knowing that we can't reset or change the astrology. This thing has been preset the whole reality, however long it is, that everything is perfectly orchestrated. And this perfect orchestration is, well, why would Saturn take forever for September 18th? Well, because Saturn wants us to learn this Jupiter-Neptune square and feel it through the personal planets and the sun. Because that's what's happening and a full moon, by the way, because as the moon's here in Scorpio, you're going to watch this moon, I can move it here, it's going to finish in Capricorn and enter Aquarius by the end of this week. And then guess what? Next week, kaboom, with Neptune, square Jupiter, bam. So that full moon process is going to be pretty intense. Now, if we take a look at Wednesday, Venus is going to oppose Neptune exactly. So at least it's starting to come off the square of Jupiter. But we are going to have a weird energy because the moon technically is void off course, all right? Now, it is making a semi-square over to Saturn, which can be actually difficult. But these are angles that usually are not considered enough for a void off course moon. A void off course moon is definitely when it's in square or when it's in an opposition or when it's in a conjunction. But it's in a semi-square and it's to Saturn, and that's not fun. And it's the moon in fall position, remember, in Scorpio. The moon doesn't like Scorpio, and Saturn is in its dignity. So there is kind of this deeper, harsh kind of truth, and I think a lot of it is learning how to feel better about life in general and add some faith, positivity, but also it's going to reveal past issues in money, relationships, projects, and how you feel good in your life. There is a depressive element to this because anything square Jupiter, especially in its home sign, especially with Mercury getting ready for its square to Jupiter, There, Mercury Saturn is more of the understanding of, I guess you could say, like depression, but there is kind of this, I don't feel like anything's going good. Like, I just got the worst hand. I just got the worst this. And we can start putting that story out there. And this is where you do not want to snowball that story anymore, because there are solutions. That's what's beautiful about Virgo. There are solutions, but this Virgo's having a hard time finding it. Look at all these goddesses, right? But they're in massive, look at that. You can even see it. Look at all that red. Oh my gosh. And it's all to Jupiter though. And Jupiter is the one that's trying to teach us to believe more, to expand more, to not be afraid, to see what's there, to look at all options. Sometimes it doesn't even mean you need to take that option. Just by looking at all your options, a solution comes in, because you are willing to surrender with Neptune and go, you know what? I'm surrendering to this. I'm going to surrender to looking at an option that I don't want to and my ego have to do. I don't want to have to do that. That's the last thing I want to do. But when you finally accept that and you take that in and you put yourself in that reality, you're like, yeah, I really actually don't. But I'm willing to see what it would feel like. There's something about when you jump back to your reality that you actually get a solution. There's something about going to the dark side of your beliefs, to your own criticism of reality, to your delusions about that there is no. One thing about Neptune, I think that's making this very hard, and with Jupiter in square in their home signs, is with Neptune opposing all this Virgo. We've never seen this before, by the way, in our lives, everyone. Last time any of this could happen was in 1852 and 1853. So that's a long time ago. A long time ago. And when you think about that, this moon is coming into Sag on Wednesday, where it's getting ready to make the big squares. But it's going to finish in Scorpio and be slow and not be really hitting anything and just be kind of lost. And a moon in Scorpio doesn't feel good, I'll be real. And on top of that, Venus is not in a happy position. So I will say that Wednesday has a little bit of a sad face. But that could be over dramatized into mania or into freak out. Especially as you can see, Mars is still with the sun, and it reminds me of like when you go horse riding. Now, I used to just go on like those horse ride tours where it wasn't my horse, and you just get on the horse and go on the trail. And I'll never forget, there was this horse that was in front of me once, and I was a kid. I was like 14, 13. And the horse in front of me was like kicking my horse. I had like one of those horses that just didn't want to listen. And so like it would get really close to the horse in front of it, and the horse behind it, in front of it, was like, get off me, and would like kick. And then I'm like, whoa. And then my horse would just stop. And I'd be like, come on, buddy, let's go. And then no, he wouldn't go anywhere. And then the horse behind me would fucking put its nose up its butt and just do it. I was like, what? And so you got to remember that with this sun coming off of Mars here, Mars is like trying to, especially the masculine energy is like on top of the sun, like, all right, king, I'll do your work. I'll do your work. I'll do the war. We'll do this. We'll figure it out, right? And the king's kind of like, I'm just trying to leave the room. Like, I'm just trying to go, bro. Like, why are you on my ass, bro? Like, what's up? You're like cramping my style. Like the sun's kind of like, I already gave you the message. Like, come on, we're going to go figure this out. But it's like, when you kind of have like a meeting with people or whatever, and then there's, somebody who's just continually wanting to go over the same thing. You're like, we're done. I got to go pee. Like, I got to go do, okay. So there is that, and Mars and the sun, right? Like, I need to figure this out. And Mercury and the sun are still conjunct on this Wednesday, 12 and 12. So here we are kind of in this Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, like with very hard aspects. I'm going to be very real. With that moon in Scorpio, Ed Void, of course, and you've got Venus in the T-square, and you've got the moon getting ready to come into Sag, where you think, well, this will bring some sort of positivity, and I think it will, but it is coming into major squares. Like, it's right. This is setting up the tables for what happens when everything is so different in your life. So instead of maybe the tables all going crazy, but just watching energies that are so unique and different and all over the place. Like, it reminds me of Alice in Wonderland when Alice goes to the tea party. And there's all the like, everything is just, and then you're just like, okay, do I, like, you know, like, that's kind of cool. And then everything just starts going all over the place. It's Alice in Wonderland. Whenever you get into mutable T-squares and you've got Neptune in Pisces, we are in Alice in Wonderland. Especially when it's more Gemini. But in Virgo, it's like Alice in Wonderland, and Alice is like the Virgin Mary going through Alice in Wonderland. You know? And so she's this goddess, where Alice is much more Gemini, you know, like, I'm curious. What's this? What's this? How are you? What are you doing? Well, you know, like, I'll take this. I'll eat this, whatever. Like, you know, but Virgin Mary is like, no, I don't want to eat that. That is not pure, organic. This, I did not go to, you know, Whole Foods and get this. It's like, but you need it to get through it. It's like, what? So this is where people get real stingy or real criticized or like real like weird when there's a freaking tea party going on with some psychedelic energy going on. And are you going to be that like Virgin Mary that's going to be like, no, I don't want to be part of this? Like, what? Like, I have my way. It's like, well, you're not in this. That was, you're that way in this reality, but you're in this reality now. Do you really want to go meet the queen? Like, she loves the cards, and you know what? She likes to paint the roses red. Do you want to wear red, Mary? There's a lot of crazy, weird energy going on here. So the best way to describe this is look around. Who is being the Virgin Mary and who's being Alice and Alice in Wonderland? Because part of this is enjoy the ride. Enjoy the craziness. Make it part of your energy instead of repelling it. Like, solutions can be found in Alice in Wonderland by the way that Alice went through everything. And even though she had no freaking idea what was going on, she somehow figured out how to get through there by surrendering. Oh, look at the rabbit. I'm going to chase the rabbit into the hole, and the rabbit's there. I'm going there. Or even when the Mad Hatter took her into the house and she got real big, and then they were like, oh, we need to do this. And then she ate something, and then she got real small, and she was able to get out of the house. And with the Pluto aspects, we're going to show you that. There's a little bit of caterpillar. So I guess we're doing a little Alice in Wonderland show here. All right, let's look at September 5th on Thursday. The craziness is still going on. So the good news is Mercury is off of the sun. I like that because Mercury is being burned out. Mercury is always in front of the sun. Remember, like, it's like one of those things that, you know, it's like Mercury is just so fast. It's so crazy. And I think that it's important for us to know, technically, actually, if we're not retrograde, it's not in front of the sun, it's behind the sun. It's so fast, though, that it's just like, so it's technically behind the sun. In our view. But, and it's with Mars, and it's with Venus. Everybody's behind the sun. That was last week what I was talking about, is everything's behind the sun. There's a hidden element to life right now. But Mercury's going to trine Saturn, and it gets one little moment of that. Mercury's going so fast. But the moon is going to be conjuncting Jupiter and squaring the sun, squaring Mars, squaring Mercury. And even at the end of that day, pretty much, square Venus. So, you know, Thursday's definitely a lot about learning how to go with experience, being open, and not having a certain way to be. Like, this has to be this way, or this is my way of this. This is the way that's pure to me. Because guess what's going to happen? You are going to come into a reality that you will get no experience at all, and you are going to be trapped in your own weird, like, anxieties when the universe is trying to give you options or give you gifts. You're missing out on gifts. Believe it or not, like, we'll use the Virgin Mary again in Alice in Wonderland. Like, the Virgin Mary gave the gift of Jesus. Is she willing to accept a gift herself that's not being the Virgin Mother. Like, it's almost like, here is something else. Because the Virgin Mary's only identity, Mars, Sun, Mercury, and Virgo, is I birthed Jesus as a virgin. There's a lot more. I know some of the spiritual people are out there like, she did a lot more. I'm like, I know, but she's a new reality now. And so that Mercury is going to square Jupiter as the moon is coming on top of it, which actually we should just show that. I did not actually go to that event. Look at the actual moment here on Thursday. All right. It's going to happen right. So for some people, it happened on 1 a.m. Actually, no. They'll get it right there at like midnight. Sun, actually, you know what? Everybody's going to get it on Thursday night at right before they go to bed or whatever. I mean, I don't go to bed at 8 p.m., but 11 p.m. In Eastern. So Sun at 13, Mars at 12. So this moon's going to square Mars. That's hard. That's like, you know, we use this war room analogy right now. That's like really pushing things hard, like emotionally too. Like I need to act emotionally, or remember it's a malefic. It's like, And also Sun square the moon, especially in a waxing moon in the first quarter phase, can bring up very intense emotional aspects that are like really put in your face about experience this feeling, and see how it applies in your reality. It's a very big experiment. And with Jupiter there, it's trying to offer some sort of major gift, but if you're too cynical or too critical, or you're not willing to allow it, because one thing that's difficult about this is the Sun and Mars are not in their home signs. I'm sorry to say, they are not. So, like, the moon with Jupiter is now two benefics together. And they're squaring a malefic and then squaring another dignified position, but this would win out. So there's a positive through this whole week if you really think about it, but it might be hard for people to see that if they're not willing to just be open-minded and see it all and see everything and be open to everything and look at all solutions and experience weird realities and experience new situations. Because if you're just going to be all tight Virgo and I only vacuum the carpet this way, or I only eat this food, or guess what? You're going to go through hell. You will go through hell. Because it'll literally be like, no, I want you to see that there's more to it than just that. There is no thing in life. So this is the best advice I can give anybody through life using astrology. Why is Virgo the ruler of reality? Because it changes. Why is it the ruler of our diet? Because diets change. Why is it the ruler of our stomachs? Because our stomach changes during different times of our life and our intestines. And there's sometimes when we process this better than that and this and that based off our environment, based off where we're at, based off what the reality is. And that constantly changes. There is no set way. Ever. So if you're so set, no, I'm set because this is totally Saturn trining with a south node. It's delusional, especially with Neptune opposition, delusional set paths of how you think it has to go. It has to be this way. It has to. This is the only way it'll work. This is the only way that I do this. This is the only way that I will go through this life, this right now. It's like, good luck. No solutions, no gifts, no experience, no goodness, no Neptune either. You don't get any escape. You don't get any of the... This is the only way out besides this North Node in Cancer, which, by the way, I'm going to bring up is Mercury. So now we can go back and I can draw. Is Mercury, as it's trine Saturn, right? We have the North Node now at 15. We're right on the star Sirius, okay? And I think it's at 14. It depends on what Sirius you're at, but this is like the meat and potatoes halfway through. But what's interesting is Mercury sextiles that. That we have to understand that we do have to change our realities to more comfortable places. And so if you think that you're already comfortable with the way that everything is in your life and the way that it's set to be, and I'm going to use another term, set, right? So set, okay? Do you know where set comes from? The sun set, okay? Set was the dark, I guess you could say, what do you want to call it, Lord of Egyptian. It was the opposite of Horus. So Set is the devil. As the sun sets into Set's dark world. So when you're set on a religion right now, the way that spirituality is, the way physical reality should be, your diet, the way that you think that everything should look, the way that everything should be organized in life, the schedule that should be, all these shoulds, it needs to be, it has to be, guess what? It's just going to fucking, that's what the table will be. Oh, I can't experience anything with that kind of person, or I can't experience anything with that kind of job, or I can't do this in my job, or I can't feel good with that. That's not allowed. It's not allowed. I am set on that. Well, you know what you're doing? You're in the underworld. The underworld is set. Heaven is infinity and beyond and God's magic. But hell is so set on knowing what it is. All you think about is fire and brimstone and the devil and chains and whatever is else down there. But when you think of heaven, it's infinite. There's a million possibilities up there because anything is possible in heaven with God. Anything is possible. And we had a new moon trine Uranus saying, whatever you thought your values were, that was so good, well, maybe they're not. And Uranus wants to flip the table on the reality too. So if you're so set on your projection of your belief system on any person, anything, this also is going to be the media, Neptune in Pisces, right? This is going to be a big couple weeks in the media. Something big's coming. And you know what? This hurricane, I was just talking to Craig about this before we went on here. Like this hurricane's big. It's a category 5. It's huge. It's gnarly. But you know there's something bigger coming in life. And I'm not saying natural disaster, but I'm just saying just some big story or some big whoo here in September when you know that they're like, I'm in California, right? So like we had earthquakes, but like when I talk to people like, wow, you went through an earthquake? Oh, okay, that's great. Like I'm just talking real talk because nobody will be real about this. But like I see the stories, hurricane, oh my gosh, category 5, and there's just something about like everybody's like, I'm trying to get through my reality right now, Because they know everybody's preparing for something major. And when you hear a category 5 storm and everybody cares, or even when you hear the rainforest, people were all on that, and then now it's kind of Labor Day and reality changes. And when you hear about a category 5, like when Katrina happened and stuff, it was like, man, we heard about that thing for a long time. But there's something about the coverage of this hurricane. There's something about, it's just not all there. Like it used to be. There's something where it's like, they're priming us for something else. There's some story going to come out of the boob tube that'll be like taking us to another level of, are we going to buy that fully? Are we going to buy that subliminal message? That's what Jupiter-Neptune square final is going to be. And with the full moon that's coming. And so this is us realizing that there is and if you think about Mercury, right, it's a very specific moment here. Mercury sextile the North Node. Mercury trine Saturn, then Mercury square Jupiter right after that. All while the moon's coming up to build up. I almost want to erase this. This is like one of the most important days. That's why I'm spending the most time on it. The other days won't be as long, but here, let's do this from a clean slate. Here we go. All right. So this Mercury is pretty intense, right? 14, and then it goes to 15. So it gets one moment really fast to Saturn. Oh, I'm set on the path. And then it's like, oh wait, I go to 15. Now I have to sextile this north node. There's like this narrow, Mercury's the smallest planet, and this is an invisible knot in space. There's nothing actually literally there. This is Rahu, the north node in Cancer, on Sirius. This is about taking seriously, finding comfort in your life, finding comfort in the middle of major opposition, of course, to Saturn. Look at the south node and Saturn just keep staying together. And now we are exactly for the first time this week, halfway through Cancer Capricorn nodes. Remember, that's an 18-month cycle. That happens once every 18 years with the north in Cancer and the south in Capricorn and yada yada through the whole zodiac. And as this moment's happening, Mercury is then squaring Jupiter. And then Venus has come off of everything. So at least during this moment, it's like, let's try and have fun, but this moon's going to be squaring all the sun and Mars. And we have to experience these intense changes and be able to be flexible and to be able to accept whatever the universe is trying to have us surrender to and not be so set on everything. All right, let's look at Friday. Now we get to Pluto. And why is Pluto showing up? Well, we get Venus trine Pluto. Moon is going to square Venus, and it's trining Pluto too, by the way. So that's another hard aspect when you get a benefic square benefic, right? But it's not the worst. It's not the worst. But this could be belief systems and realities not making sense between people, emotions not seeing the same way. So, quarrels can happen. And especially if you add to this Mercury at 16 now, it's squaring over to Jupiter like it did the day before, but it's ready to oppose Neptune on this day. That's how fast Mercury's going. Later in that evening, at least the moon will trigger some really odd emotional stuff that we have to experience and learn. But Venus trine Pluto is like, why don't I just accept and truly go deeper and reflect on a deeper level of let me take all these experiences I'm going through and this reality and let me fully take it all in. And when I take it fully all in, I will receive and understand what has to go and what's going to stay, or what needs to fully go and be transformed into a better life. So there's positive in this, a lot of positive through going through a lot of chaotic energy. And on top of that, with the sun and Mars, it's still Mars is on the sun's butt. It's like this guy just won't stop he's like walking the king out of the room, and the king's like, hey, I just want to go back to my fucking world. I'm figuring out a lot of shit, and the sun's tripping out. The sun is tripping out because it was just in its dignified place of Leo. And now it's coming ready for its big square to Jupiter and its opposition to Neptune. So it's like, I got shit to deal with. I told you what to do, Mars. I told you what to do. So there's a lot going on here. Friday, though, I think when the moon does come off of Venus, now we have a long, very long moon void off course Friday. Again, there's a lot of moon void off courses going down lately. A lot of them. Because this energy is so concentrated in Virgo and in Sag, but when and even Capricorn, but there is nothing the moon's going to aspect, okay? Nothing. There's nowhere for it to aspect anything. It's just lost. And so, with Mercury opposed Neptune, talk about trying to emotionally understand everything. And the most confusing moment of Mercury's time is always when it's in home, in Virgo, opposed Neptune. Or if it's in Gemini and square to Neptune in Pisces. Confusion, delusion, anxieties, panic attacks. Depersonalization, psychotic episodes. And you got the moon void off course, which might be good, but it could feel like there's something missing. When really, is there? Maybe it's like you're missing the point of what you emotionally are trying to understand, the bigger macro picture of things, instead of being so focused on the micro. That the macro is going to help you understand the micro better and figure out things. And Venus trine Pluto is like, just eat it. Just accept it, please. So Pluto's trying to, Pluto got the South Node off it. So Pluto's like, hey, I'm kind of back. I was in that illusion. I got Saturn I'm going to conjunct with soon. Like, you better start listening to accepting these new reality things that's trying to be shown here, because I'm about to wreak havoc with Saturn. Like, that's my only job, is to execute transformation, death, and rebirth. That's it. That's all I do. And receiving or chucking it out. This is like exercising the demons a little bit. Exorcisms. Because this is us having to clear out old subconscious patterns, mental issues, past situations that our mind's still attached to, environments that make no more sense to us, especially with the moon void off course in Sag and going to be crossing the galactic center, right? Like tapping into this other space. And it's all Alice in Wonderland. It's all over. And when you move to Saturday, oh my God, I don't know if you guys are ready, but it doesn't stop. We go to the moon in Capricorn now. Now, moon is detriment in Capricorn. Now the moon will make nice trines to all this Virgo. It's going to try and structure Alice in Wonderland. This is Alice getting out of the freaking Alice in Wonderland, and guess what she's doing? She is going to have to go read that damn book again. Because I don't know if y'all remember that Alice is one that, like, she's not one to just sit there and enjoy, like, life without some sort of imagination, excitement, and beauty, like when she's... They should have an old, right before she goes in there, right? Like her mom's reading the book and then she kind of falls asleep. You realize she falls asleep. But there is something about, like, she's not paying attention to her mom reading the book. She's playing with the cat, playing with the flower. Like, there's something about, like, this moon in Capricorn that's forcing us to kind of believe that maybe we have to go back to, like, doing shit we don't want to do. And I really want to stress that that's not something that we do have to do. I really believe that there is this connecting with the reality. I actually like this one picture of Alice here that I was going to just show everyone. It was great, and then it was lost. That's just how life happens. Oh yeah, so I clicked this, and oh, here we are. Like, I love this gift, like, in a world of my own a little bit, but I think with Venus here, like, there is kind of like, okay, you have your own world, that's great, but, it's about connecting this dream world and this reality world and the experience of it both. How do you connect all three? You got to kind of step into this nonconformity to this Capricornian, like, old lady that's like telling you to fucking listen to this bullshit that you don't even want to fucking read. This is where you want to be in life right now, right? This is the reality that you really want right here. There's peace here, there's calm. But there's something about this moon in Capricorn that is not going to be as fun as we're going to really want. Because if we really look at it, it's going to cross over Saturn, the South Node and Pluto, okay? And even though we'll be in trine, it's almost like activating this energy even more of delusion of, well, I need to do this and I need to do that. And when you mix this with Virgo, Virgo's kind of happy, right? Virgo's like, oh yeah, like, all right, Capricorn, like, execute the plan. We've got all the harvest ready. We've got all the workers ready. We got everything all organized. Love it when you show up. But is it a reality that you really want? Are you basing this reality off an alien fucking baby? Pluto, Saturn, Moon, South Node, Capricorn. Some sort of structured, delusional, and hidden, occulting, the Moon occult. It's coming in front of Saturn, Pluto, and hiding them. And they're already hidden elements with the South Node there, right? Woo! And if you think about this, the sun is trining Saturn as we come into Saturday, and then starting the square to Jupiter. Sun square Jupiter, let me tell you. You want to talk about how much Jupiter are we going through this week? Oh my gosh, how much Saturn are we going through? The restriction, the expansion, like what is this? Like, but more importantly, it's like, are we really going to set the concrete in a reality that doesn't have a window that looks out to the adventure of a lifetime? Are we going to lock ourselves into old systems and old situations that we don't want to be part of because it feels more safe because we saw chaos? If you think Alice in Wonderland is chaos, then yeah. Or if you don't know how to go to Disneyland and have fun, yeah, then you know what? This won't be a good week. If you're so controlled in your life and you've got control of it, this is a delusion and an illusion of control. There is no control. Now, Venus and Mercury are starting to get closer, and Mercury's off that big T-square, so that's going to be good. And the moon in Capricorn on Saturday, you know, it's even technically making that big square to Chiron. It's not the best feeling because as we're trying to heal our identities and also try and maybe fight for, you know, reality and a position of what we want it to look like we're almost getting caught up in the emotional thing of how it should be structured, how it should look, how it should present itself to you in order to receive it. So it's almost like we're becoming the thing in life that we don't want to be, which is you only energetically, career, project, relationship, or anything are allowed in my life unless you look a certain way, unless you're tailored a certain way, unless you fit into my box, you fit into my reality, you fit into my way to look at this. And this creates chaos and quarrels. Because the moon then trines Uranus, that's retrograde, and is like, yeah, I want my own freedom of my own values and the way that it should look and the reality that I want. So we got this grand trine element that's starting to build with Juno, Moon, and Uranus. But it's like, Juno is kind of like, okay, I'm trining Uranus now. Like, this is kind of, Juno is the wife of Jupiter. And so when you have the wife of Jupiter, and the sun is squaring it, it's almost kind of like the wife is against the husband here a little bit. That might sound crazy. But, like Lilith, if I remember right, was the original wife that said, fuck you, And so, Juno was the second wife that was committed and loyal. And so you've got this aspect now where this loyalty becomes overwhelming of like, it should look like this, and you need to be loyal that way, and and my values are this. And it's like, what? Jupiter's gonna just laugh again and throw you coal. Okay, you're not getting this whole bigger picture, positive life, high vibe. Here's some coal. And the moon loves in Capricorn coal. It does. With Saturn there, it's cold. it'll create, energy, I guess, if you had an old coal train, shoveling coal into the train, right? Because Saturn is the train on the tracks. Cardinal energy. Let's go. It's the front of the tracks of the train. Mars is exalted here. So the moon hates here because the moon, this is where Saturn and Mars, the malefics, love Capricorn. They love it. The benefics do not like Capricorn. Jupiter hates Capricorn, fall. Venus hates Capricorn. Mercury does not like Capricorn either, even though Mercury's neutral, but as far as if there's malefics there, it's like, I have to turn myself into a malefic. So there's a lot of malefic energy at this point that we have to watch ourselves in trying to buy stories that we don't need to be part of in ourselves. And this North Node is trying to teach us, with Jupiter now in quincunx to this North Node, that this place of true emotional security, true happiness, is by experience, openness, adventure, positivity, a little bit of grandiose. Remember that Virgo, Capricorn are not the most grandiose energies, right? Like the Virgo is very tailored, like I'm Mother Mary and I'm the Virgin Mary and I birthed Jesus and I'm perfect and I'm good. And Capricorn's very like, I am the head of the Freemason at this Mason temple. I'm a 33-degree Mason and I got here this way and I have a degree here and I know all this stuff. It's like, okay, really fun conversation with you. No jokes, not even dry humor. When these planets are all here with the moon, or it's actually, you know what? It's malefic dry humor. Like that person, look at how ugly and fat and dead and and skinny and well, look at that, you suck and they don't have money and they're a loser and Oh my gosh, how can we be pure if we're going to like buy that part of ourselves of trying to control reality to feel good? When this is a time in our lives where Jupiter, quincunx North Node, is like trying to understand, well, how are we going to find emotion and comfort and that family and that positive centric unit as the moon is going to come on top of Saturn and be very thrashed out with the Sun square Jupiter. Sun square Jupiter is bad luck. It also is, I usually look at more actually of it under, like not believing enough, not seeing big enough, being too cynical, especially in Virgo, because it's Mercury ruled and it's squaring Jupiter. I don't see it as doing things too much or believing things too big. I see that more as like a trine, like Sun trine Jupiter. Like, yeah, you can look real big, but somehow it's about macro that Jupiter likes, that Jupiter does pay you the gift by the bigger that your belief is. But with Neptune still in opposition, and now we got Mercury trying Pluto on Sunday, and the moon, look at that, the moon is coming into a shitstorm. That's a shit sandwich, peeps, if I've ever seen one. Now, it does trine, so it gets some amp from Mars, it gets some trine to the sun, it gets some Mercury aspect, it gets some Mercury-Pluto, but this is where some intense conversations come out of truth. We got Venus and Mercury, right? This is very cynical. Mercury's on top of Venus now. Like, hey, I'm gonna tell you how to be, Venus. Like, you need to figure this out. You need to figure that out. And I just got messages from the beginning of the week when I was watching the Leo King, and it was the Sun and Mars and Mercury, and then there was a war table going on. And I'm here to deliver you this message. Since you've been the leader, I'm about to take the lead. I have a message to go give. And Venus is like, what the fuck? Like, I'm already, don't look my best. Like, I'm going to use a feminine analogy. Like, I have no makeup on. Like, that's Venus and Virgo, right? Like, I have no makeup on. Or the guy would be, I don't know, like, going out to the clubs. Like, I'm just in a fucking t-shirt, dude, and, like, board shorts. You want me to go to the club? Like, like, that's Venus and Virgo. Like, what? And Mercury's like, you need to clean up. Like, you need to figure this shit out. Like, you look like shit. Like, what? And especially with Pluto there, it's very, like, truthful. Like, oh yeah, and by the way, like, your buddy's been cheating on your fucking whatever. Or, hey, look at this. Like, what? Because of this malefic energy with the moon. The moon's occulting. The moon the moon is having Saturn, South Node, and Pluto project malefic, dark, Capricornian control and super, not even dry humor, but malicious humor on things with Mercury. And Sun square Jupiter is criticizing and not being positive, being too overbearing. And if anybody is going to try to do drugs this weekend, don't do them. Anybody going to try and party this weekend, don't do them. This is where people die. Sun square Jupiter in its home sign, square Neptune. We've never seen this in our life since 1852 and 1853. And this is gnarly because now the sun's coming into a major T square with Neptune. And Neptune squaring this, and Mercury's trine Pluto, death, Venus. Don't do it. I'm telling you, people, if you're thinking that this is a great time to just go experiment and play around, like Alice in Wonderland doesn't need to have that. But this is gnarly because Mars is on top of the sun with the square to Jupiter. You do not want to inhibit your life by this is where people overly believe too, and that they can take something as far as they can, but there's no Scorpio, there's no boundaries. And there's this moon on Pluto and the moon on the South Node, it's deceived, oh, I have control. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. There is no control this week. Zero. And the moon is opposing the North Node in Cancer, which Cancer rules the moon, so it's in the opposite place of the safe place. Do not put yourself into a dangerous place this weekend, especially on Sunday and Saturday night. It's almost like going into the devil's lair, because Sun square Jupiter is kind of like, the light's off in here. Bad luck too, And how do we get through this? We have to look around, be more observant of our reality, and what feels dark, what feels like it's trying to control you or pull you into a reality that is not truly aligned with who you are in an old pattern. And Neptune's trying to save the day as an angel, but it's not, it's in opposition. It's like, I can only come in if you kind of pass this rite of passage. You're willing to live in a reality where you are able to discern between toxic and non-toxic and seeing the whole big picture here and not pushing this thing over the boundary lines too far. Because with Neptune, we can believe, everything gets taken too far with Jupiter square Neptune in a negative way. I'm born with Jupiter conjunct Neptune. So, for me, that's why, I see big visions of how to take astrology and do deep astrology in this way. It's possible. But I also am discerning to be yeah, that's possible, but it would take that, and I don't have that now, so I'm not going to do that. But Jupiter square Neptune's I can see that, and you know what? With moon on Pluto, the moon on South Node, moon on Saturn, opposing the North Node, Jupiter, also bad luck, square to Sun, and Jupiter, bad luck, quincunx North Node, with moon in a bad place. This is a fuck show. So be very careful. This is not a weekend to go fuck around and do something stupid, because there's no way out. The angels come in at the very end on the operating table, or already when you're in jail with maybe an old grandma that'll maybe get the bail, but the judge isn't in back till Monday, so you're still sitting in jail anyway. There is no get out of jail free card this weekend. No get out of jail free card. Because this is the only time this year we are having the sun in this close of an aspect squaring in the Jupiter square Neptune, with Neptune retrograde. Neptune's offline. Jupiter is online. And Mars, that fucking warrior, is still on the ass of the sun, so it's pushing the energy even harder. Go into it, sir. It's what? Let me look around first before I walk in there. There's an overconfidence that can come with Sun and Mars, square Jupiter. I don't want to like, I have a person, could be a friend of mine in my life, who's Sun square Jupiter. And this person has literally gone through the worst situations I've ever known of anybody to go through pretty much in my life personally, right? Ever. Now, he has got through at the end, but pushing things way too far, like extreme bad luck. And this is the most extreme you could get it I've ever seen. You can ever have in astrology because we've never in our lives had Neptune in its home sign. We are having the sun sextile the North Node. You've got to remember that this is serious with Jupiter and quincunx to it. This is the area to focus on. Safety, comfort. And if that place for you is some sort of like escapism with that Neptune trine, you got to be careful because maybe you're escaping too far into something that maybe you're not really ready, prepared for. And especially wherever Capricorn is in your chart, and especially these degrees, 13 through 20, like that is the zone to where maybe you're trying to escape too much. Because Neptune is fueling the South Node, fueling the Moon, fueling Pluto, and Mercury is trine Pluto. So we almost will do anything to figure out a way to have it, to have what we want. But with Sun square Jupiter, man, I'm sorry. So this last chart, September 9th, Monday, I know might seem like a dismal week out there. That's why I'm hitting the jewel right now. I don't care. It's not. You just got to be very open and still pure and still know your limits and know your boundaries and know what's you and what's not you, but also be open to seeing everything. It's a very, very weird place. We are at the outer limits of the universe this week. And it reminds me of Quentin Tarantino's From Dusk Till Dawn. You know, these guys go, well, it's the family, right? They're like in Mexico and they would go into the strip club bar, and they're all vampires and they eat everybody in there. Like the way that thing looked, like are you going to just start pushing yourself to believe and falling for the attraction of this Venus Pluto or even this Moon Pluto and all this stuff? Like, you definitely want to make sure you know what you're doing. Now, interesting enough, there's something really interesting about September 9th, 2019. Isn't that going to be 9/9/19? It is. That's really interesting to me because Mercury at 22 degrees of Virgo isn't exactly going to be the place in opposition, trine, to 22 Capricorn, where it will meet up with the Saturn and Pluto conjunction from January 10th through 12th of 2020, where it will get its most malefic transit of Mercury's life in astrology that we know of human mathematically. It's getting a window into seeing a reality with the sun now opposed Neptune. Look at this. So I'm saying this weekend, folks, this is gnarly, and even Monday, like this is where people like this whole week can really lose it. Like you got to really stay in a very spiritual place that's still willing to see things, but be very discerning, use your energy and know your divine guidance, know your angels, know your gut, know and feel. And before you buy what is in front of you, and take it on. And whether that's in yourself of negative thoughts, negative beliefs, to realities that look more good than you know behind it is from dusk till dawn and there's creepy vampire women in there ready to eat you. Now, Mars, the malefic, trine Saturn, the malefic. So again, the delusion and the illusion, because there's a dissolving element to this too, that you do not have as much control of your reality as you think, because Saturn and the South Node are conjunct and Saturn is retrograde. That if you think that Mars is like got his little bugle horn right now in Virgo, it's very tiny, to Saturn, like, wake up, sir, like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to battle. The sun told me to do this. Mercury and we made a deal. I'm ready. And Saturn's just like, I'm not even going to say anything to you. I'll like acknowledge and give you the authority that you have to do that, but I have the authority to tell you when you can go. So this is not a normal Mars trine Saturn. This is more of like, yes, I can build the understanding and the definition of the plans for the battle or the thing that you're trying to achieve or that you're about to go through, but it's not time right now, but it's time to at least have it all together. And you can start applying some parts of it. Like, I'm not ready for the ships to come out, but have you got all the dock lines ready? You got enough food for everybody? Did you do all that stuff, Mars? Did you get everything figured out? Like, did you get all the horses on those boats? And did you get, because like, I'm not ready yet. I'm still doing my thing. And the Capricorn's at a desk, like, I'm still doing things. I got my old ink fucking withered pen. And the sun is opposing Neptune. So it's delusion. It's crazy. It's not if you really are buying the hype into Monday, like, and through this whole weekend, that you have it all figured out and you know exactly where this is all going, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel that this is just about experiencing a lot, and we still have more to process. And there's way more still that has to go on, which the moon in Aquarius is going to show us that. And even this moon, when it's, at the end of Capricorn on Sunday night, is void off course. We have a lot of void off course moons. It's insane. Every single sign, okay? This whole week, there's something missing. So you might get seduced with Pluto into things, with Mercury, Venus and everything, South Node. And Mars trining, but there's that South Node there. And then the moon's going to be void off course after that, to where it's almost like, well, there's something missing here. Like, I went into that and there's something off and it doesn't feel the greatest. Like, we need to go into positive, pure Virgo, Cancer energy. That's where we need to move towards. And Mars and Rahu are coming into a sextile. So they want to go, but Saturn is in opposition to that with the South Node. So it's like, we need to find our comfort in a true, positive, pure space. This moon in Aquarius, really kind of odd, actually. It is going to square Uranus on Monday, but not till really, honestly, Tuesday, because this is going to take 12 hours to get there. So what a weird day. I think Monday is not going to feel normal at all. It's going to feel very odd. It's going to feel very disconnected. It's a moon, and I think we're going to want that disconnection to kind of overlook all the Jupiter squares that have been going on. And we're not done with the Jupiter squares. Next week, we got Mars squares Jupiter. And then it's not even done yet. We're going to go into a full moon on top of this Neptune square Jupiter. And with Pluto in sextile. And so we're not fully done yet with all this week. So don't come to some conclusion about it all. Like, go through the experience, make sure that you are knowing you're in Alice in Wonderland, and know that you're going to only get through by experiencing things, but if something feels really weird and off by the weekend, like, don't do that. Like, don't fall for that shit. It's like the candy man, like, come here, buy some candy for me, kid. And there's a lot of delusion over control this week, because everything trines Saturn, and then it goes right into a square to Jupiter, and then right into an opposition to Neptune. So right when you think you have control of it all, blah. And I just would hate to see you all do that. And it is 9/9/19. There is something very Martian about that, and all those nines and ones in the sun, and we have the sun and Mars. So there is something to say about Sun and Mars all week, Sun and Mars, Mercury that started it. Like there is a war plan. We got to wait for Saturn to, he's the captain of the boats. He's the one who says we go. And so we're not going, we can get all the things ready that we want to in our life. We make all the adjustments that we want, but don't take this way too crazy by the weekend. Like this is a build-up to some crazy energy. Like, and this is where people, like I said, lose their minds, end up in mental hospitals. You know, this is going to be a lot of quarrels with people. Moon square Venus. When there's on top of the sun, Venus in T-square, Mercury in all dignified T-squares. Mercury in its home sign, Jupiter in its home sign, Neptune in its home sign, all creating this chaotic element. All while the sun's trying to keep it all together with Saturn, but Saturn's is blind. It's retrograde, it's got the south node on it. It's blind, it doesn't know what to do, it's retrograde. And it's giving the illusion, I always have control, I always have control. No, you don't right now, Saturn, you do not. You have the south node exactly on you, and you have had that since April. And anybody, especially with Neptune sextiling it, everybody in the media thinks that they have control of understanding the world. Everybody thinks they have control of their life and their situations. Nope. So, that's this week's Deep Astrology. I would just say that be open and keep things open for experience, and you will start to see what the macro is trying to reveal and the outer dimensions are trying to reveal to you. But if you try and take things too far, too fast, and you put yourself in the control seat, and you try to push these boats off now, you will get coal down your chimney and Santa will be laughing. And there is a malefic element throughout this whole weekend and a disconnection to reality that is very heightened. And I want to prepare people for weirdness, and I want to prepare people for discernment and to stay sovereign in your pure form, but not to also inhibit yourself from seeing everything that needs to be seen. That's what's so odd about this. And so this is very experimental, and like I brought up at the beginning, it's like CERN, and it's like a container, and we think it's under control, so let's just throw in the particles. Are you sure that CERN did not turn us into another universe in 2012, or even every day that they ever do that, or every month that they do it, whenever they do it? Like, are we really sure that they have that motherfucker contained? Think about that. I love you all very much. Check out highvibe.tv, and of course, all my daily videos are on there that are exclusive for subscription, and of course, weekly content, horoscopes. We have a lot of other people on there with the school as well. I'm also, I don't know if you guys are part of my email list or not, or follow me on Instagram. I'm actually going to be putting out a couple specials this like tomorrow, like on some readings and some school stuff. And so check it out. Make sure you check out me on Instagram. I'll be putting all that on there. And I would say that the last thing is After Dark is here, and we're gonna have a great time. So stay on for After Dark. I love you all very much. Please share this video. It's the best way, or you could always help out by going on to highvibe.tv and checking out one of the videos, or getting my Passion of the Venus video for only $10. I go deep into all this Venus stuff. It's not over yet. Venus has not come home to Libra with Mercury yet. We're going to see some really interesting stuff as Mercury and Venus come together. And Saturn has not come direct yet as all that's going down. I love you all very much, and I'll see you on the next Deep Astrology.